Thank you for joining Straight Talk, the 2008 elections. This is a wonderful, powerful time to be a part of Oregon. A lot of things are happening in the state of Oregon. Particularly, our government has changed. Now we have a new governor, we also have a new mayor, and we also have a new police chief woman. And we also have a new Supreme Court justice. So it's time to be a part of Oregon, and it's a progressiveness. But if you look from the south to the west to the east, from the east to the west, south to the north, you see cranes. It's building. People are building. But the question is still, where do we go from here? It's 2008. Where are we headed? So we have some candidates that's here to talk to you, not just because of the political piece, but they're here and they're running because they care. These are the rules. Each one of you have 1 to 2 minutes at the beginning to talk to the audience, to our viewing audience and to the audience here. Then you will have questions coming from the audience as well as myself. At the conclusion, you will have 1 to 2 minutes to talk to the audience and to the viewing audience as well as that are here too. Also, if a candidate mentions another candidate's name, that candidate will have 30 seconds to respond. I will be timing to make sure you get equitable time to address the issues. Okay? Please introduce yourself.
My name is Chuck Crockett, running for county chair.
And next to you?
Deborah Harris, claiming the position of Multnomah County Chair.
Okay, Mr. Crockett, we'll start with you. Speak to the audience.
First?
Speak to the audience.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello, audience. How are you guys doing?
Oh, excuse me. Let's do this. Ladies first. If you're okay
That's
with
what
it.
I was trying to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
ladies
fine
first.
with the gentleman going.
Okay.
I'm fine. We're all in this together.
We're all this together, but ladies first. Go ahead, Mr. Deborah,
Okay.
please.
My name is Deborah Harris, and as I stated, I am in this campaign to become Multnomah County Chair. Number one, the county needs to regain the public trust. That's one of the reasons I'm running in this campaign. And I don't see Deborah Kafuri, the current chair, here today. And to be honest, that surprised me of embarrassment, because right now I've been saying shame, shame, shame on our current chair, Deborah Kafuri, to publicly, in a public meeting on taxpayers' dollars, call a woman a B, the B word, and feel it's okay. It is not okay, Chair Kafuri. To move forward, what I am focusing on right now is our county executive leaders are focusing on issues related to institutional racism. Nothing is happening there. It's been going on for at least 4 years and before, but definitely during the last 4 years. Our leaders have said we're going to take care of these issues year after year, and everything remains the same. Institutional racism is still a problem. When we are so entangled and entwined, focusing on those, not taking care of those, we cannot focus on the real issues. And that's what I want to do. Remove those barriers that's blinding us from focusing on the real issue. Make sure institutional racism is removed from the arena, so we can focus on our children, their education, the elderly, a quality of life, so we can focus on the houseless, a place to live, the affordable housing, a comfortable place where people can stay in areas where they know their neighbor's name.
Thank you. Mr. Crockett,
Hi, my name is Chuck Crockett. I'm running for this position because, as you can see, a lot of the elected officials are just treating the symptoms of things that revolve around the community as far as homelessness, housing, institutional racism. I mean, it goes all the way down to the policies and practices. And I would like to treat the actual problems, not the symptoms. With housing situations and them feeding the developers and so on and so forth, that will never fix the housing issue. And I've contacted the county and the city, and I've done multiple things throughout the government and the state also to try to tackle this issue on its core principle. And I've also talked to Deborah Kafuri, and I haven't heard anything back from her either as far as the issue of institutional racism. But there's also elected leaders from all the communities that are also allowing this to continue. It's not just one community. It's not just the white community. It's the black community, Latino community. These leaders get these positions of power and they switch up their goals. And that doesn't help anybody. And I'm not here to do that. I'm here to actually fix the situation and stay focused and take care of that situation.
Thank you both. The first question is to both of you one time. If you was elected as a councilman, what would be the first issue that you would address? Why and how?
You want to go first?
You first, sir.
Okay. The first issue I would address would be definitely institutional racism, and I wouldn't just address it just as far as, saying don't do that. There are policies and practices that we have been going on since Oregon was a state, even before it was a state. Like I said, in 1929, it was illegal for African Americans to even live here and not be a slave. So those are the type of policies and practices that we need to peel back. And the DAs and the children of these DAs, like Michael Strunk, there's the city hall is in front of a plaza that's dedicated to a known racist that started the gentrification of the African American neighborhoods. So this is the kind of situation, this is what I want to attack. I want to attack the policies and the people in there. And once you deal with that and you take care of the communities that are suffering because of these policies, then you'll start to see growth. So that's going to be my first thing, is attacking the policies.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Bohr?
The first thing I would do would be to create an ombudsman, because right now the union workers really don't have a place to go, a comfortable place when there's a complaint. So they tend to fall off the wall, pushed off the wall, or just eradicated off the wall. Then I would, what I would do, I would resurrect the merit system that Gladys McCoy, the previous chair Gladys McCoy, had in place. Now the merit system would be available for employees who are managers. If they have a complaint against an elected official or a complaint against another manager, then they would have that merit council to take their complaint to. But right now, what happens if the elected officials or if the county chair or commissioners decide, or someone in management want to get rid of a person, they just basically push them off the wall. So we need to have that structure in place. And after that, I will follow up with having a meeting in each of the 4 districts with the district commissioners. We would go out into the communities, leave the confines. I've seen those cushy, comfortable offices. Leave the confines of those offices and go into the communities. Schedule a time, maybe quarterly, and have meetings with the community members, and just sit back and take a notepad and not talk, just listen. Just tell me what's on your mind. My great-grandmother used to ask us, what's ailing you? Find out what's going on. And then once we know what the root of the problem, what the concerns are, then we can address it and schedule a time. We'll be back at another time and we'll discuss these issues and we can move forward with solutions.
Thank you. The next question to both of, did you respond to that? I'm sorry.
But to what she said?
No, to the question.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The next question would be, would you advocate, endorse for single member districts? Why and why not?
No, I wouldn't. I think that a single member doesn't make sense to me. I think that it's more of a community situation. We start allowing a single member of any district or anything control a group of people. That's like capitalism. This is exactly what we're living under. It's a capitalism situation. So no, I don't want to endorse capitalism. I would never do that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ms. Bohr?
Single member districts, yes, I would endorse, I would totally endorse single member districts, because single member districts, it sort of breaks the communities into parts, whereas right now everything is sort of lodged into one hotspot, as you could say. Single member districts, we have 95 different communities. With single member districts, whenever there's an issue, whenever there's a complaint, you'll have a to-go-to in that particular district. Each district have same concerns, but then all districts have unique concerns. One district may have a problem with the cat running up the tree every 2 weeks, lots of cats. Another district may have issues with maybe a higher game problem. Another district may have problems with its elderly being informed when there's emergency preparedness, have a concern for the seniors, have a larger amount of seniors. So I believe in single member districts, and that ways you can have an individual set up with that district. You'll have a go-to, and then when the mayor has a concern, each person allocated or set up with that district can meet with the mayor and say, these are the concerns that we have. That ways you can break down district by district exactly what's going on and what their unique problems, what their problems are, what their main concerns are, rather than just putting them in one big capsule.
Okay, thank you. Each one of you have talked about the districts. Right now in our high schools, we have a history of violence going on right now, particularly with the recent shootings. If either one of you will become councilman or woman, How would you address that issue? Mr. Bohr, please.
Okay, addressing the violence, we're referring to the shootings and so forth in the school. Well, number one, we need to create a safer place. And one would be, I know a lot of schools right now do have, you press a button and you go in. But once you get in, you still need to have some type of screening device here. One of the things that I would promote or push for is a ban on the assault weapon. I would, when those who are going to purchase those, make sure that well, first for Oregon, a ban on the assault weapons. But as far as the schools training the students, we need to create an environment where the children, our students, will feel comfortable and safe, and it's a learning environment, not where a teacher carries, pistol packing teacher. We don't need that. And we don't need children going to school and focusing on, is someone going to intrude? Our school today is going to come in today. But basically, then having security, beef up the security in the schools. Having more securities in the hallways, having that availability on the campus, inputting more dollars in our schools so that our children will have that presence and be comfortable and focus on education, which tends to be evaporating.
Thank you. Ms. Crocker.
As far as me, I think that we don't need to put any bans or anything on assault rifles. I think we need to educate our children on the value of life. I think that's what's missing, is the children don't value the value of life. Anytime you have, or anyone, grown man, anytime you have someone go inside of a public building and shoot anyone or a group of people, that's that person not valuing life. And it could be mental illness. That's what a lot of this is coming back to, is mental illness. So if we, like I said, if we stop addressing the symptoms and start addressing the root causes of this, that we wouldn't have that. I went to Jefferson High School, so I was in the middle of a lot of gang violence and so on and so forth. So I have experience with it myself. But I also know that you wouldn't have this if they had jobs or if they had something to do. Those are just a lot of kids that don't have anything to do. They don't have any extracurricular activities, nothing to keep them busy. And it's the same thing with adults. When you have a hate-filled society, a racist society, a society that condones to raping, molesting, sex offenders, so on and so forth, and it's all predominantly white men, of course you're going to get white men going in public places shooting it up. These people need to be taught the value of life. I don't think we should add security or do anything. We have officers at the schools. If the officer's not going to do his job, then you need to get him off of the job and replace it with somebody that actually cares and will do something. Like the recent shooting in Parkland, there was a sheriff there. He did nothing. That's a prime example. You can't tell children, make them feel safe when their law enforcement isn't even doing anything to keep them safe. So when you teach them the value of life and you show them that their life is valued, they'll start to value. They won't do those things. That's how I feel. That's
okay. Thank you both. The next question, recently, there was an issue about Wapato Jail, and there was a proposal for $7 million, $5 million, and it was sold for $7 million. I think the facts are correct, $7 million. We know that that only holds 300 to 700 people operating fully. How would each one of you address our issue about homelessness in our community? Please, sir.
Well, there are empty buildings the county has right now. They're all across the county right now that they could be housing homeless people in. So this is a well-known fact of how my stance on homelessness is to take the homeless, put them in these empty buildings, set up computers and training and different certifications for the homeless to get them working. When you get them off the street, you deal with things like crime. You can lower crime, you can lower the litter on the streets, the trash, pollution. I mean, it just keeps going. So the way I address it is I take all these empty buildings, just like Waffle Hotel, don't pay $58 million for a jail and then sell it for $5 million. That's not something I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is open up these buildings and put workforce in these buildings so that they can work. They, a lot of these people actually have certifications of jobs. Some of them are plumbers, electricians. I mean, from all walks of life. They just hit a bumpy road and they lost everything. I want to take those people and get them back, give them help and get them back on their good foot, get them back out there and let them know that people care. Like a lot of time, I go out there and I have conversations with the homeless. I don't know if any of the other candidates do, but I have conversations with them, and the number one thing they have is I hit a rough patch and no one cares. And that's crazy because they're on the street because they can't get an address. It's as simple as an address. You can't apply for a job if you don't have an address. And it's as simple as that. So all these empty buildings and all these available funds that they're spending on sheriffs in the jail need to be directed towards the homeless to get them working and get them the proper services they need to get back out there and be proper citizens and add to society.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Bohr.
Well, Wapato, excuse me, but I'll have to say shame on you, Chair Kafuri, and shame on the other 3 commissioners who voted to sell Wapato for a mere $5 million when they paid $58 billion, and a few months prior, $10.8 million was offered for that facility. And it sort of concerns you. This is why I'm saying we're looking at so many other barriers that are blocking us from looking at the other issues we need to focus on. My question is, to sell Wapato now, will the county have a place to house at least some of the hundreds of houseless people who are going to be here in the cold of winter when the snow comes? Those beds, there may not have been very many, but there would have been at least 500 to 700 beds to house some people. And this is not for permanent. This is just a temporary. It has a shower. It has a place to cover their heads. Just the other day, I saw someone had set a sofa on the side of a street that says free. When I passed by the street again, there was a houseless person asleep on the sofa. My heart dropped because I'm thinking in the middle of winter with snow and ice, if that sofa is out there, will that person be asleep in the snow with the potentials or possibility of freezing rather than having a Wapato over his head?
Okay, thank you. The next question, unless someone has a question in the audience. Okay, my next question is, recently there was a judge issued by Judge Simon to Mr. Rosenbaum, $5 million. Apparently there is issues in regards to how that has happened, how it's transpired, and if the judge's orders has actually been followed through. As a councilman, as a councilwoman, what would you do in regards to this issue, and how would you address it?
Well, I'm not familiar with the Rosenbaum situation, so you have to elaborate more so I can understand it.
Okay, Ms. Boer, are you familiar at this time?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, what I would do, this is the COAB and the COCO concerns with police accountability that was implemented from 2013, I believe it was, 2014. It's very concerning that the person who was designated, who was awarded the contract for this to be the consultant, was someone who was not a part of the finalist. And I asked the question, how can a person go from being zero, not a part of the finalists, to being that person? When it smells like a skunk, it is a skunk. Okay, that is, I know that's a city issue, but as a Multnomah County chair, I would give the mayor a call. I can't attribute that to Mayor Wheeler. That was the previous Mayor Hales. That was something that he was dealing with, that he sort of dropped the ball on. But I would schedule a meeting with the current mayor, and say, let's discuss this, because even though this is Portland, the city of Portland, this is in Multnomah County, and what's affect the city also affects the county. And we're looking at disparities. The disparities are still there. The report that the consultant put together, it's not really factual. It says partial compliance. It talks about compliance. Either you're in compliance or you're not in compliance. And most of it says repetitively, not in compliance. So the judge tends to be, I observe that the judge tends to be a little partial on the side of the consultant. That's what I basically observe from that. And right now, I would ask the mayor, I would suggest to the mayor to implement a monitor over the process, put a hold on the millions of dollars that you've given this consultant, who's based out of Chicago and has no history and no feel for what has been going on in the city of Portland, and appoint a court monitor for the process, put a hold on those funds until the decision has been made as to which direction we should go, and involve the community members, the real community, not just people who saying, I'm a voice for the community, the same ones who are there over and over again, sitting at the table. Go out in the communities, get everyday people like myself and you and you and you to be on the boards, to be observant, to be the watch the watchkeepers over that process.
Thank
to
you.
be informed.
Thank you. We have a question.
Hi, I'm Dr. Audrey Terrell, President and CEO of the Dr. Audrey Terrell Institute. I work with black student unions. I have several high schools that I work with. And we talk frequently. I meet with them once a week at the various high schools. And these are some very intelligent, observant youth. People are watching. They are watching you. Let me say that. Each candidate, and I say this not only to you two, but the other candidates. This is very, very important. I teach them, along with other teachers, about integrity and character. If you are a person of integrity and character, you can be trained to do a job. But an incident that occurred with the commissioners, where they were one commissioner called another one the B word, was extremely offensive. Every meeting I go to, they bring it up all the time. Why would they say something like that? You want me to be a judge? You want me to be a counselor, and I have to conduct myself like that? What I'm saying to you, I want to know what level of integrity, what level of character will you have? Because you're being watched. You're being observed. The youth are watching you. That is my question to you today.
Okay, my response to your question, Dr. Terrell, my response to your question is, I would be an example, a role model. We say the children are our future. They're also our present.
Yes,
I would be a role model for the students. That type of language isn't part of my vocabulary. And what I had said prior, to say words like that in front of an entire caring community with no respect for the community is unacceptable. When we call, I would want to just sort of piggyback on what former Senator Margaret Carter said. When we address one woman as a B, we're addressing all women. Those weren't the exact words, but what we say about one person, or one female, or woman, we're talking about all. My grandmother is not a B. My mother is not a B. The Me Too women who stood up in the Me Too movement are not B. So this was definitely a slap in the face for all the women. And it's being chair. I'm in this race because we need Chair Kafuri to resign or to be voted out, because we don't need that for our children. That's not a leader.
Thanks, Ms. Boyd. Mr. Crockett, please.
As far as the integrity I face, I mean, I haven't heard her say anything, anybody say anything about that, but Loretta Smith let her get away with it. So the way I look at it is I have to be a role model, not just a role model for how to act and conduct myself, but a role model how to be solid and not unwavering and not allow yourself to be run over, because all she showed the youth was that here's this white lady in a position of power and she says whatever she wants to you, and you just brush it off and you just deal with it. You know, that's something they see all too often. And I'm not going to take that approach. I want them to know that there are people out there that you can follow and watch and they're a role model to you that is going to stand there solid on his 2 feet, 10 toes, and not move from what we're trying to do or what we're trying to accomplish. I honestly don't see why anybody hasn't made a big deal about Loretta Smith brushing it off. I mean, that bothers me more than it bothers her calling the B word. I expect her to be treated that way, given the history of what we have in the United States of America. And what I tell the youth is to be unwavering. Don't let people sway you. When you're talking to your teachers, don't let your teacher tell you a lie. Don't let them convince you that who you are is bad. You know, that's not something that you should let them do, because that's indoctrination. That's how they program the children to be, you know, walking around with tight jeans and multicolored hair and so on and so forth. I want to give them something proper to look at, and a proper adult that has morals and values and is not trying to be anybody different or trying to give them a facade or anything like that. I want them to know that this is what a strong person looks like, and this is what a wavering person that leads properly. There's no disrespect. There has to be lots of discipline. I mean, these people need to know that that's not okay, because I haven't seen her talk to anybody else in that office that way. So that just shows you the level of respect that's in the office for Loretta Smith and people like her. It's not just black, it's just in general people like her that are going to let themselves be run over. And that's what I'm going to honestly show them, is a leader that's not going to be run over. You can't be a leader and allow stuff like that to happen. That's not a leader. That's just a puppet.
You said we could
Thank you, sir.
rebuttal.
Thank you, sir. He didn't mention your name.
Did you say we could
He,
rebuttal?
he didn't mention your name.
Okay.
We have a question, please.
My name is Professor Hall, and first I want to thank both of you for running. Back in the South, we have barber shop professionals, we have dentists running for office, everybody from all sectors of the community running to lend their voice. So I want to salute both of you. And I'd like to start with you first, my brother. Thank you for stepping up and saying, you know what, I'm not part of the downtown Jake's Bar and Grill Club, and I'm going to let you know that what you said is wrong. I don't have to look like you, act like you, but I'm going to exercise my constitutional right to dissent and say you should not have done this. And I want to also expand on something else you said about Commissioner Smith. I ran against commissioners. I ran for office twice. I ran against Commissioner Smith in 2014 because I didn't believe she was representing the interests of the community. And when you nailed it when you said, well, how do you brush this off? What you do is you meet with candidates like you. You meet with Sharon Maxwell, who's running for District 2, and Bruce Bouchard, and you say, I'm going to give you the money and advocate for you to get the money, and I'm going to give you my endorsement. To this point, the African-American candidates in Multnomah County races, Loretta has not endorsed, nor has she given any financial support to. And so as a man, I have to be careful in how I articulate that. But what I will say is that Granddaddy would say, you can't snow the snowman. That answers the question if you really care. So I just want to say run your race. Stand up for what you believe in. And then when your kids and your grandkids open up the album book, they'll see that Granddaddy and Daddy stood up against injustice, and just maybe from his race, we can be inspired to run our race. And so in context to you, Candidate Harris, I just want to say, if there was any mold in the likeness of the late Gladys McCoy to stand up, it's you. To come up against this kind of power and that kind of money, and then to say this is not right. And then to quite frankly, the forums that's been canceled, many say she don't want to debate you because she knows that you're a lot broader than this single issue, and that she wouldn't be able to stay on the same stage with you. And I'll have to echo those viewpoints. But I want to say that I agree with your candidacy. I want to say I agree with your and appreciate your courage, and believe that that both you've already won. You've already won. So I salute your efforts. So I just want to say pose one simple question, and the question that I want to say is, what message should the kids out in the community learn from your run? What do you want them to know that from your efforts that will inspire them for the rest of their life?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Ebden. Mr. Crocker.
Okay. I want the children to know that, no offense to the black women, but black women normally lead the charge in this kind of stuff. And I want the youth to know that there are strong black men out there that support them too. And I don't want that just to come from the black community. I want the Latino community and the white community, all the communities to know that there are strong black men out there that are fighting to change, and we are here. And I want them to see that. I want them to have that ability to know, just like you standing there doing what you do. I know you probably advocate for youth also, and so on and forth. Just like you advocate for youth. But it's really hard for these youth to have that faith when they're constantly seeing the men of their culture constantly attacked, and demeanored and emasculated. So I want them to know, just as a community, just like I told her, we come together as a community. We're here as a community, fighting as a community. I'm a strong African-American male that's fighting the same fight that she is. I just want them to see that this isn't just a one-way street. Too many times that they see our African-American women alone on this fight, even though they're not alone, they don't see us on the front line. And I want to see that. I want to show them that. And I'm leading this with not just, working class Americans, but also with the gang members. I have lots of gang members, friends that support this. I mean, business owners, from all walks of life. And they need to see that as a community, and with someone leading as is the leader of their community, African-American man. So.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Bohr?
Thank you. I'd like to echo what Mr. Crockett said. And one thing I tell the youth is you never give up. You don't give up walking because you gave up shoes. And I look at this race as being, it's a win-win situation because we're setting examples for our youth. And it's regarding to Loretta Smith. I addressed it with her several times. I denounced the fact that you're saying it's okay because it's not all about you, it's about women in general. So my encouragement for our youth is to As Langston Hughes said in his poem, Mother to Son, you continue to climb. You don't sit down on the stairs. You may have some difficulties. You may have some good days and some bad days, but you continue to climb. You know, you may go to the hills, down to the valley sometime, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to climb back up to the hill. So you keep climbing and stand for what is right, and do not fall into situations where you are bought, because you are free.
Thank you both. We have a question from the audience.
Yes. I commend the both of you for running, young men, and I actually watched on cable when you let Deborah Kafori know that you was gonna run against her. See, I can't run fast, but the only reason I pay for basic cable is because I can see City Hall, Metro, and what have you. Body language is everything. I agree with both of you, but one of the things, as a representative, being a senior, the thing is that the myth is that our senior citizens, our old people, and our young people, there's a gap. There is not a gap. I would like to ask, and it's not just the youth, because I talk to youth all the time, including my great-granddaughter, which is 3 years old. They have the ability of understanding. Not until you actually talk to them. All people, regardless of color, have nothing to do with it. It's about power and control. I would like to know, how would you go about trying to connect the dots and eradicate that myth that we're not together? Because I stay in the trenches with you young people, old people, middle income, whatever. It doesn't matter. People are people. And the whole thing in a nutshell is the classroom is out here, not inside the walls of academia.
Thank you for your question. Ms. Boer, please start.
What I would do would be create a dialogue, make sure that we have conversations and dialogue between all ages, all races, all colors. And that's going into the communities and having that dialogue. That's been part of my life since I was born. I lived in a four-generational household. My mom, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, and my siblings. And we learned to bond and to be there for each other and to conversation and to understand and to give wisdom. And also I look to our faith base, our communities, to create that channel of wisdom, and then connecting the youth, the middle-aged, or whatever age. So we're doing things together with each other. We're not saying help out the senior citizens. I'm a senior citizen also, not doing this, but create avenues where they're doing things together. Maybe a day, several you go get together and do an outing together and just have conversations, visitations, wisdom, and then cash in on the wisdom. And then we listen to what each other has to say, and that gives us greater solutions, and it draws us together, and it builds that relationship that we need to have among each other. And thank you for that question.
Mr. Crocker, thank you. Mr. Crocker.
I think this is a prime example of how to do that, is making sure that the youth are involved in whatever's going on, and that we are respecting our elders and have them going on too, because you guys have all the wisdom. So I get a lot of my knowledge from elders. This doesn't come from even my mom. This comes from somebody 10, 15 years older than her. So I respect that to the fullest. So I think that as a people, we need to show that representation. A lot of people don't know that African Americans are the most connected people ever. Like, a lot of us stay with our grandmas or taking kids to our grandmas. We're really connected. And the myth is really a stereotype that's put out there. So I think we need to show representations of that and, don't allow people to stereotype us and draw our narrative, because that's all that is. I don't know one African American person that doesn't have a connection from their grandma, grandpa, whatever, all the way up to their great-great-grandma, grandpa. When we have barbecues, we get together, family get together, we're so big that it scares other people. They're like, oh, look at all those black people in there, like, oh, police go driving by and everything. So it's really representation. We need to do a better job of representing and showing that in the public and in the media and everything. I don't think it's just a local thing. I think that it could start local and go bigger, but it's really all about what people are seeing. And if they continue to put our image out there like that, and we're not showing anything differently, then people are going to continue to run away with that idea. So to me, it's all about showing it. You know, it's not, I agree with her, getting together and talking with the youth and having everybody together. But those, I believe those are just issues, in the community that we deal with. As far as, like you said, get rid of the myth, the only way we're going to get rid of that myth is if people are seeing, all of our generations with each other doing things as a family, or what they consider as a family, in a prosperous way, in a respectful way, in a loving and caring way as a people. So that's how I feel it needs to happen, is people need to see that.
Thank you, sir. Next question. If either one of you become city council, there's going to be a pressure from the African community to hire more blacks, diversity. What would your approach be, and how would you do it? Mr. Crocker, please.
My approach would be to, first of all, I'm not going to have African Americans working in a system that's already treated them a specific way. So my thing is we need to get funds for the African Americans to make their own jobs so that their community is feeding itself. That's how I'm going to address the situation. I'm not going to just usher them into companies that have been doing them dirty the whole time. We need to get these people business grants or funding and so on and so forth. And when they have their own businesses, they can employ their brother, sister, mother, so on and so forth. And that creates a cycle of the dollar circulating in the community where those jobs will reciprocate themselves. They'll make their jobs themselves, and they don't have to ask for jobs. But as long as we keep taking from the community, like on my Facebook site, I have Tough Luck up there. 18th and Deacon Street is replaced by a bar called Tough Luck that the white people boycotted in the neighborhood, moving in there. And if somebody would have gave them a help, or if they had some kind of help to deal with that, then they would still be there. But it's how they're attacking them financially and through the city council and so on and so forth. Like Exotica, I know a lot of people, Exotica, that black woman went to city council and begged them to leave her alone. They replaced it with the Carl's Jr. And it's another African-American man, I can't remember who he is, but he had these people build a building so close up to his building that he can't get to his electrical service box. He had to sell his place. So that's the type of stuff that we need to deal with. I mean, it's not just the jobs that we need to make. These people need to be business owners. If we had a thriving community of Williams and all in Northeast Portland, that community needs to be brought back. Those are jobs that will give to the African American community themselves. So I'm not just going to focus on trying to usher them into, working for this person or that person, trying to write another non-discriminatory policy. It doesn't work. But if we give them funding to go get businesses and do what they need to do, they'll have jobs of their own and make it for themselves.
Thank you. Ms. Boer?
Okay. Well, let me change that, please. When I become Multnomah County Chair, I'm claiming it, and there are African Americans who are wanting to be employed with Multnomah County or in areas that I have that I have responsible for. One of the first things that I would want to do is, right now, because of the major institutional racism that is within the county and the disparities, to make sure that we do a complete evaluation on that and create an environment where everyone, regardless of what their race, color, creed, nationality is, where everyone feels comfortable, where everyone can feel comfortable having good dialogue with everybody, and everyone wants to work together towards the same goal. Once we get that relationship and that trust rebuilt, then we will address whatever issues we need. I would make sure that we have the tools, we provide the tools for educating and training people for the jobs that they want, that the county may have. I'm not going to just pull someone in and say, okay, you're going to do this. I'm going to assess the situation. What are some of your training? What are your needs? And we know, and the county knows, and the state knows, and the city knows that it has gone too long where people of color have been pushed to the side. So we need to provide, as Mr. Crockett says, we need to provide the fundings to make sure training is done for whatever type of job that they want to pursue. They get that training that's been long overdue, that we do things to inspire and encourage and get the right people in place to train and get the right managers in place and make sure that whoever we put in positions that they understand diversity, they understand equity and equality. We need to make sure that they understand that. And if there are people in place right now who are on the old system and do not want to change the mindset, then that would be a conversation that we would need to have, where they may need to go to the ombudsman, or they may need to have a visit with the Merit Council.
Thank you for your comment. The next question If either one of you will become council, how would you go about addressing the misappropriation of contracts in the community? Building contracts. Let me address it like that. Of building contracts. How would you address that?
Seniors are 1,300. From last time I checked, I looked at the budget. It's 1,138 pages. I don't know if you guys know that, but the budget is 1,138 pages. I don't know anybody that has the time to read 1,138 pages. But from my understanding, there are 1,300 contracts throughout the county right now with the building. So I mean, really, it's just being fair. You know, if you're fair and you're not basically doing what they do, then it'll work out for itself. You know, I mean, I've known this for a while. They've known this for a while. Nobody's changed it. I mean, it goes all the way up, like you said, to the city and state, the county. I mean, it's all through. So it's going to take someone to actually be fair. And that's all you have to do is be fair. You don't have to do any kind of special setting up programs or evaluations, management, or so on and so forth. It's just being fair. And if you're a proper leader, you're going to make sure that those contracts are going out fairly. You're not going to sit there and say, oh, do this, and then get a report back later saying that you didn't do that. That's what the current chair is doing. So you have to be involved at all times as a person.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Bohr.
Yes, thank you. And if we're putting, when we're giving the funds to different contractors, and I do know repetitively several contractors are getting the funds over and over again, what needs to be in place is a monitor. Because right now, if we're giving contracts year after year and there's this money out there, in any process, it needs to be monitored. That isn't what an auditor does. A specific assignment needs to be made of a credible and ethical person, maybe independent, to monitor the contracts, to see who they're going to. So if a community or someone wanting to go, if I wanted to go, because I've done this, and ask who's getting the contracts, that monitor can, and what percent of contracts are going to minority businesses, and what percent of contracts are going here, and what type of jobs are these contracts for. That monitor should be able to pull up the program and advise us and share, okay, this is who's getting the contracts, this is how much each is getting. This would be that person's specific job. There is no accountability. One of the big issues regarding the contracts and everything else is there's no accountability. We're just issuing, there's no monitoring, no accountability. I would create an accountability process.
Thank you. The next question, if either one of you would become city council, how would you address, and what are your plans to address, the educational dropout rate in our system today? Mr. Crocker, please.
Let's see. From my understanding with the children, they're bored. I mean, they have Google. They have so much. I mean, when you have teachers that are teaching indoctrination and you're not actually learning anything, that's how you change the dropout rate. We need to get the trades programs back into the schools. I have no idea why they took them out, but those have to be back into the schools so these children are graduating with some kind of expertise or training to get a proper job. Minimum wage is just not cutting it. That's entry-level stuff that a teenager should do or could do. So, I mean, it's... I lost my train of thought. What were you saying again?
Dealing with the dropout rate in our educational system?
Let's see. I have a few friends. This will make me. I have a few friends that dropped out of high school and they went to selling dope and doing all kind of stuff that they shouldn't be doing. And I do know that the main reason they did that is because when they got to a point where they felt like the teacher was not connecting with them and they weren't able to learn from this teacher because of a roadblock, they completely disconnected. When you're inside of a classroom and you have a tablet or a phone that gives you all the information you want, and you have a teacher telling you something that you know is false, that's where the disconnect comes from, and you no longer can learn from this person. You can look at a child and have a child actually question, and once you lie to that child's going to start questioning your validity every time they ask something until that you get that trust back. And that's what's happening in the school system right now. Like I said, with the Parkland shootings and so on and so forth, Portland teachers, the Teacher Association and most of the Portland public school teachers just took a contract that has nothing to do with the performance of our children. And they know that. That all it has to do with class sizes. That has to be addressed. There's no official that said anything about it. Nobody's attacking this right now. None of them right now in the city hall. They let it happen. They flew it by. And the children, they watched it happen. My little brother asked me about it. He's like, why are the teachers just going here trying to get paid just to have us in class? But yet they call us stupid and we're dumb, but they're not teaching us nothing. So that has to be addressed.
Thank you for your comment, Ms. Bohr.
Thank you. I appreciate those words. I would look at the root causes of the problem. Some of the root causes when children are unfocusing in school, we need to look at the courses that we're offering. Maybe we need to implement, well, we do need to implement things that are of interest to them. We also need to look at the home situation. Going home, is there a mother or father in the home? Is a parent incarcerated? Does the child have food on the table? Is there a place to lay their heads at night? Are they part of the homeless, houseless, a student who really have no house to go to? And instead of, when we need to pull the community together, for the particular communities together, and ask the community, what can we do to reduce the dropout rate? We can't go to, the educators are great, but we can't go to Salem and ask the PhDs and so forth to sit around the table and tell us why our children are dropping out of school, why our children aren't learning. We need to get community members who are in the heart of the community, parents who have children experiencing these dilemmas of dropout, chronic absenteeism, and talk to them what's going on. It could be something as simple as, I think someone had mentioned in one situation, well, they didn't have a phone clock to wake them up. But when they have those other issues affecting them, it's going to take away from the desire to want to learn. Making sure that we are giving the communities the proper dollars that the communities should have to rebuild the communities, to reestablish the family. One initiative I'm working on, and I know I'm running out of time, I'm working on is the Incarcerated Women's Initiative. The professor at the University of Nevada said, women don't need time out, they need a way out. And for those women who haven't done major crimes, just going to jail for minor stuff, but they can't get out, and go into prison, if they're home and those children are there, that's going to change the whole concept of that child being delightful, wanting to go to school, wanting to learn. And have people and communities in place to wrap their arms around them. Most people don't understand if they haven't lived the experience, to wrap their arms around these families and these children and say, I'm going to help you along the way so that you can have your family again and get them out of those foster homes where they're not being given any care. So many things we need to do is address the root, and you don't know what the root of it is until you go to the source.
Thank you for your comment. The next question is, if either one of you will become city council, how would you address Portland Police, how would you work with the newly elected Portland Police Chief, the mayor, on the issue of Portland Police community policing?
When you talk about community policing and accountability and so on and so forth, that has to be taken care of. There's no other way around it. And when I'm working with the Portland Police, we have to also deal with the DAs and the judges. Those are the ones allowing them to get away with it. If an officer unjustly shoots someone and the DA won't take it or press charges, or if the DA's taking it to a grand jury and only giving the grand jury information that helps the officer get off, because the DA has the legal right to do that. I don't know if you guys know, but DA can take information that doesn't show innocence for anybody. It's just guilt, or any way they want to. So when I'm dealing with policing in the community, I'm going to start at the top. First, I'm going to start at that, so that people can see that there's a no tolerance for non-accountability and how the community wants to be dealt with. And then I'm going to go down from there with the mayor, myself, and show this through the sheriff's office and show a proper way to deal with the communities, not on their standards, because these people started off as slave bounty hunters. So we can't have trust in that in any way, shape, or form. We have to go back through and show them, as a person of the community, how I want to be treated as from a police officer, and how I want to be respected, and what we believe community policing is, not their version of community policing, because we see their version of community policing.
Thank you, sir, for your comment. Ms. Bohr?
Thank you. How I would address the community policing is that for the police to create a relationship, to build relationships among the community, instead of driving through with the windows rolled up, getting out of the cars, learning the different names of community members, bonding with individuals throughout the community who can be a resource and de-escalating situations with them, getting to know the community. And I know there are a lot of different decisions that are made, from the level up. And those are things that, in the court system that we may not have any control over. So if we feel that there are some situations in the court system that's happening that shouldn't be happening, then this is where we go and implement laws to try to change those. But basically creating a system where we are working directly in the communities, building relations, and training the officers. That's most important. And you have to get someone, when we speak of training the trainer, someone who understands and who's sensitive to the needs of the community to do the consulting and to do the training. You can't necessarily hire someone from, I would say, from New York to say, come down and train these police and teach them what's going on in the community when they haven't been a part of that community. Locate someone who's credible within the community to work with the police force, explain to them what's going on and how they should react, and then give them testings on that. So basically, teaching and training, and then going out into the communities and rebuilding those relationships. That's why I implemented building the trust there.
Thank you for your comments. Each one of you have 30 seconds to talk to the viewing audience.
Bora Harris, candidate for Multnomah County Chair, rebuilding trust in the community. Multnomah County is a shining county, but there are too many places and spaces where that glitter isn't glowing. I'm going to get the glitter to glow everywhere. Bora Harris, May 15th.
Thank you. Mr. Crockett.
Chuck Crockett said, I'm here to bring change, and as a true leader, as I said, with facts that are uneven and so much other stuff, and like I said, you can go on my Facebook website. I posted part of the county budget where they have more money set over for sex offenders than they do for adult services. So that's the type of person I am, and that's what I'm bringing to the county. I want to change this and lead it in a proper direction, completely different than what you've been seeing, because it isn't working for the community.
Both of you candidates, thank you. Let's give our candidates a hand.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Keep us informed. Let us know what's going on. We appreciate the issues. We appreciate the passion and the consistency to drive, to strive, and to get out on the pavement and connect with the community. We really appreciate it. Let's give them another hand. Thank you. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Ms. Boyd, best
Thank
of
you.
luck to you. Give them a few minutes.